one of my most popular segments is Back in the Game with Debra Kennedy. My dating escapades, but it's all through the eyes of Debra Kennedy, which is a female. So I'm so excited to have a male perspective and a fabulous guest at that tonight. Well educated, articulated, humorous, a comedian, and fine looking dating expert, Mr. Scott East. We're excited to have you on the set tonight, darling.
Escapade makes me a little bit nervous, but let's go past that.
So you are very educated. You are very flamboyant. You are very fun. You are very entertaining. However, none of that saved you from going through a divorce. So once you divorced, you had to enter the dating game, correct?
Yes.
How did you feel about that? As you know, as a male that you wanted to stay married, you know, you didn't entertain this and it happened to you. So what was your thought process on getting back in the game?
I mean, it happens. I mean, that was not something that I was expecting, and that just kind of happens that way. But I think that for me, I wanted to meet somebody. I mean, I'm more of a relationship guy, and so I knew I wanted to meet somebody. So I just got kind of back into it. And had fun. Had a lot of fun.
So I love that's what you were saying, and I love that you're on the set tonight because it is really a perspective from a male. Because as a female, we think differently than males, and so we, you know, it's really a his or her. It's a yin and a yang. You know, there's a happy medium, but we don't understand how you think, your process, and you don't understand how we think. So a lot of the perspective tonight is for our female audience members out there to understand through the eyes of a male. So for instance, I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
So you did multiple sites, and you said that you found one site that worked best for you. Dating sites are not a one size fits all. So you picked one that you said you thought was a little more in line with what you were looking for. So what about Hinge did you like?
Yeah, I think for me, what I liked about Hinge is that a lot of women on there I got along with very well, and it was just it aligned more to me. But I would recommend trying lots of different sites. You just never know which one you're gonna like.
Right.
And Hinge in particular, it was good. I mean, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had a lot of great dates, and so it was a good site.
So I love that.
I'm hoping for an advertising sponsorship. Just kidding.
I love it. And speaking of great dates, I love what you said. You just have fun dating. You don't you're not into it, you weren't into it thinking, you know, oh, I'm going to find the love of my life on date number 1 or date number 2 or, you know, 7 dates into it. You have fun with it. And don't you think that as a female and male that's how we both should look at it?
Absolutely. So the one thing that I did do that I actually thought worked well was I always had a phone call before we went out. Because my philosophy is that if I'm not going to get along with her via the phone, I don't want to know what she looks like, you know, in person. I want to be able to get along with her conversation-wise.
Right.
And so the best dates by far that I had were the conversations that went really well. So I always had a friends joked that, oh, you're having a screener call. It's a screener for both ways.
Right.
And so for me, that actually worked really well. And so probably the dates that I had the most fun on were the conversations that were just really good and really easy.
I love that. Was my protocol. I always do a FaceTime call because, you know, we talk about men not looking like their pictures and women not looking like their pictures, and they don't. So I don't understand that concept of why you would post a picture that was 3 years old when you know you're going to have to meet that person and you're not going to look like the picture. Where a phone call or a FaceTime call, phone call not too much, but a FaceTime call, your interaction, and you'll see not only is the communication there, but do they look like their picture?
That's why I did a phone call and not FaceTime, because for me, I wanted to be able to have that connection, just being able to talk. And so for me, that actually worked well. I didn't want the visual side. I didn't want to see how beautiful she is or anything like that. I wanted just to have great conversation. And so for me, in thinking through that, I just wanted to be able to get along with somebody really well. I didn't want to know she was good looking or whatever. I just wanted to be able to get along with her well.
See, I love that because it's a big difference between male and female. See how I wanted the FaceTime, you wanted the call.
It's a little role reversal though, right? Because normally you would think that men are going to be a lot more visual.
Right.
But I think that if you take the visual out of it, you'll know if you have chemistry. And my philosophy was, if we can have chemistry and just be able to enjoy each other, just listening to each other talk, then all the visual was just a pure bonus.
I love that. And so the next question leads me into, what are the 3 things that I would say most men look for? communication was clearly one of yours, correct? Give me a couple others.
That's interesting. So, I mean, this is just my opinion. I can't speak for all men, but like one thing for me is that I wanted someone that was very easy with where she was at in life, and just very, very comfortable and confident kind of where she was at.
Right.
I didn't want to go and meet somebody that just definitely wanted a relationship right out of the gate. I wanted someone that just wanted to live more day to day. And so that was probably one thing for sure. The second is that I wanted transparency. I wanted to be able to talk about things, whether it's kids or family or even like, a past ex, for example. So I wanted transparency. And the third thing is that I really just wanted someone that was not focused on outcome. Let's just instead, let's just go on dates and just enjoy it. And if it leads somewhere, great. If it doesn't and we end up friends, great. But don't focus as much on outcome. And that actually helped quite a bit.
Right. Which is, a lot of women, they do want to know, like you were talking about a first date that you had, that it's going to lead somewhere.
Yeah.
But do you want to know that because you think that you're not wasting your time? Because you can't know that. You would not know that until you've dated this person for extended amount of time. So tell us about your date and how that went, or the date that was not so great.
Oh, well, I mean, I mean, I don't want to disrespect her. I mean, it was good in the sense that we had fun. But for me, I think that kind of in your 50s, I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to be great friends with her. And that was something that was really important for me. If I'm thinking, look, I've got a second chance of being able to find somebody, I want to have somebody that I'm good friends with.
Right.
And so friendship evolves. And so I think that for me, I think that that's why I try to stay very much more in the moment and focusing more on friendship. And if it leads to something, great. And if it doesn't, I end up becoming friends.
Right.
And so most of the dates that I went out with, women I ended up becoming friends with. And so that was good. And I think that's kind of staying more in the moment and not focusing on whether or not it was going to lead to something.
Right.
I think helped quite a bit. It took a lot of the stress and the pressure out.
And I love that you talked about transparency, because I think when you're married for a short amount, or even an extended amount of time, you've been together with that partner. And so your expectations are a little different. And things that annoy you maybe have led it up to be, to a little different, and to the point where, it annoys you to no end, and you don't have as much patience. So I think when you're in a new relationship and you're finding you have an opportunity, like you said, transparency, to be yourself. You're not judged.
Yeah.
You're telling your person like all your fears, or you're telling that person what you want in your future, and you're not being judged. And I think that's the big thing about new relationships and the dating that is, I think, rewarding, but it's also about transparency and being open to sharing those feelings.
I love that. I think that that's really good. And so that's something that I was just talking today about is I think when kind of the second time around whether or not the person is the right person is whether or not that you are open to adapting to the way that he or she may want to be able to do things.
Right.
And so for me, and kind of being on my own, and after being married for 20 years, I picked the same the furniture that I wanted. I picked the decor. I did everything kind of the way that I wanted to do it. And so it was very liberating to do that. But now being in a relationship, what I've kind of realized is that the more that I'm open to adapt, the more I realize that is the type of relationship, and I know that it's the right one. And so, so that for me was like a big telltale sign.
And I also think a good relationship is where you can just be quiet together. You don't always have to be doing things. You don't always have to be taking trips. You don't always have to be, planning things. That you're just happy being with that person. And I think that's a true test of, what you learn from past relationships going into new relationships is if you're comfortable just being in the moment and not having to plan anything, that's really, the step that you're going in. Do you agree with that?
Totally agree with that. And so if you're as comfortable being in sweats and a t-shirt and doing Taco Tuesday from Harris Teeter, which I don't know if they're a sponsor or not, but maybe that would work for
They
you.
will.
But if you're as comfortable doing Taco Tuesday as you are going to Cayman, then it's the right relationship. And so I think that was really important for me, because when you're just starting off and you kind of in the euphoria of a new relationship, you do a bunch of trips, you kind of have this sense of like urgency,
It's the
right? Like you want to go
phase.
do all these things.
Yes.
And so eventually that's going to stop, or it's going to slow down. And
It's not
so
sustainable.
if you're as comfortable just being in sweats and a t-shirt on Taco Tuesday, then I think you're in the right relationship.
Right. So we're going to ask just a couple viewer questions as we close. One of our viewers, she's been ghosted several times. So she even tried to FaceTime on her third date, and she was even ghosted on the FaceTime. So what is your advice to males or females out there that are being ghosted?
No, I think it's good. I mean, if the person's not going to respect you and respect your time, then that's good. Then that means it's one less person you have to worry about. I mean, respectfully. I mean, I don't want to say that like I encourage ghosting, but if you're going to get ghosted, then move on. And I think that's a good thing about dating apps.
Right.
Is it allows you. There's a lot of efficiency. I think that may be because I'm a software guy, but
Right.
like there's a lot of efficiency in it. But that's good. I mean,
Right.
there are numbers out there, and you will get to a point where you find someone that respects you and your time.
So don't take it personal.
No, not at all.
Do not take it personal.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to, but no.
But that wasn't your person.
Exactly.
That just wasn't your person. Have you ever been ghosted?
Once.
And tell us.
Okay. It was one of those things where we were trying to figure out a time to go out, and then she was being super cagey about the time and the place, and then she never replied, and so that was fine. Mm-hmm. Move on.
Because she could have been married, right?
I don't know about that. I'm not gonna.
We're going to go with that story. She
Yeah.
was married. She doesn't want to get caught now.
It's okay. I mean, maybe something came up and maybe it wasn't the right time, but like maybe it actually allowed me to be able to focus on things that were important to me. You know, I want to be able to have somebody that respects me and my time. It's going to take the 2 seconds to say, listen, I'm sorry. I got caught up in a meeting. I'm not going to be able to meet tonight, but can we meet next week?
Right.
And so that's okay. Ghosting is, I don't think, a bad thing. It's disrespectful and it's hard not to take it personal.
Right.
But it just means that that's one less person that you need to focus on.
I love it. How long, and which is great advice, like great advice. How many dates do you think it takes for a male to decide if he would want to pursue a relationship with a person he's
In your
seeing?
50s?
In your 50s?
One or two.
One or two.
To
So
be
you
honest,
know.
to be honest, I mean, at this point in time, like coming out of a 20-year marriage, I knew exactly what I like and what I don't like, and what I want and what I don't want.
Right.
And so I think that, I mean, that, no disrespect to other guys out there, but if the person doesn't know what they want in their 50s,
Right.
that to me is a red flag. Personally, that would be a red
I
flag.
love that.
And so I think that might be some things to to kind of talk through.
So date 2. So don't waste your time. So if you're a male or female out there and you don't know by date 2, it's not the right person for you.
Well,
it's
it's
not
like
your person.
sales, right? I mean, it's like sales. Like,
Right.
I mean, the first date is literally should be the best of both people. Like, literally the best. And
Absolutely.
if there's not a connection there, and it's at your best, it's
Right.
not going to be there.
Right. This is not going to happen. So there is something better out there. And I think that's the thing with these dating apps. There are, I think that's the trigger though. I think sometimes you always think, as long as you stay on the dating apps, that there's something better out there because there's so much opportunity. I remember when I first started dating, it's like, oh my God, I had to pinch myself. Is this legal? Can you really do this? Can you see all these people? It's so fun. Oh my God,
Yeah.
But then it can get, I mean, really, truly can get addictive because there is so much opportunity. So I think too, when you know and you find a person, you need to get off the site. That's my
I
advice.
think it can also make you very cynical.
Right.
I think that if all of a sudden you go out and you're like, oh, I don't like the way she flips her hair, I don't like this, or I don't like that, I think it also can make you very cynical in that respect.
Right.
So I think if you think about the things that really matter to you, all these other little eccentricities shouldn't really matter at that point. And that's the only thing that I would say that's negative about the apps.
Right.
Because if I go out on a date and I'm like, oh, this is who I'm looking for, and I don't like the way she flips her hair, my mentality is I can go home and swipe for 2 hours and find
Right.
5 just like you. But the thing is that there's a chemistry aspect that there's no one like you.
Right.
And so if you don't have the chemistry, that's the part where I think you just need to be very careful not to get cynical about it and not think about it in terms of numbers.
Right.
There's not someone that is 100% perfect.
Right.
But if you have the core and the main things that you really connect on, this other 20%, if you think about Pareto, the other 20% is going to waste 80% of your emotion. So don't even focus on the last 20%.
I love that, the 80-20 rule. And so in closing, I would say communication, trust, intimacy, and have fun together. What would you
that.
add to it?
I would say that stay true to just focusing on like the worst thing that can happen is you're going to become friends. And I think if you have that mentality, you'll take a lot less pressure when you're dating, and then you'll end up making a lot of friends, and there's nothing wrong with that.
You are so genuine and so real, Scott Eames. You were like authentic self. showed up tonight. I appreciate that,
Aw.
because to come on our set and just talk about your feelings, and the people, 50% of the population is going through this because they're divorced, and for you to come and share your feelings is just so special. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Scotty's the man about town, but also the man that's sharing his feelings with you. Whether you're male or female, it's really just about finding yourself, self-love, and discovering and having fun. Don't settle, because you will find the right person.